all muted to minimize background. We are in webinar mode, so you are all muted to minimize background noise and distraction. But please do feel free to type your questions in as we go. There's a little chat feature with a bubble at the top of your screen. So if you have any questions, please feel free to let us know. Also, if there are any technical difficulties with sound or your ability to see the slides, let us know that as well, and we'll fix them as soon as we can. In fact, let's take a moment right now. Is everybody able to hear me okay? If you could go ahead and type that into the chat box, that would be helpful. All right, we've got one response. I want to make sure everyone else can hear. Okay, great. Thank you, Nancy. Great. Well, keep letting us know if you have any difficulty, and we'll resolve it. You were given 2 audio options when you entered the webinar today, to listen via your computer speakers or to dial in the conference bridge number provided. If you are having any audio difficulty while listening via your computer, this can be caused by having multiple applications open. So feel free to close some of those applications or simply join via the conference bridge number if you do have trouble. And that is in your reminder email. Without further ado, allow me to turn it over to my colleagues to introduce themselves, and we'll go ahead and get started.
My name is Amy Adams. I'm the director of the Seeger College Career Center here at Pepperdine. I'm a Seeger College alumnus of 02 and a Grazio alumnus of 08. And it's my distinct pleasure to be here today talking about the job search. It's a big and can be sometimes daunting process, and we hope today to equip you with some tools and strategies that will break that down and make it more palatable and actionable for you as you move forward in your process.
And I'm Marla Pontrelli. I work as one of the career counselors here at Seeger College Career Center. I'm finishing up my first academic year. My background and training is in career counseling at the university level, and I provide a lot of the general services related to career counseling here at the center, and I'll review a few of them. So we do major in career exploration, both for first-year students as well as alumni who are coming back and kind of regrouping and looking into their options as they make career changes. So keep that in mind. We also have career assessments as an exploratory tool, including the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, Strong Interest Inventory, and Values and Skills assessments. We do resume and cover letter review, and also advanced job search and networking strategies. We also provide mock interviews, which we tailor specifically for the position and company. And we also prepare students for applying to grad school, law school, business school, med school, whatever the next step might be in researching programs or reviewing your personal statement. Each school in the Career Center has, for each school, offers a number of events throughout the year, so check on the calendar and their website. And in general, we really do our best to help you feel supported and stay connected to the community of Waves through our Alumni Association. Rachel will describe the various alumni-related career services later on in our presentation, but for now, let's jump into our agenda for this presentation. And so in preparing for your job search, we'll review clarifying and defining career-related efforts and your goals, what we will refer to as being a smart shopper, and we'll go over how to equip yourself with both the mindset and the practical tools to be successful once you begin applying for jobs. The second item will be understanding your unique value. So this involves knowing your strengths, what you have to offer, and conveying confidence about your distinct value and strong potential to employers. This is important for all positions, whether or not they are considered competitive. Employers don't always want to look too hard for why you could be an asset to their company. It must be immediately clear to them how you will make a meaningful contribution to their company. Not just how you could make a contribution, but how you will do it. Start to adopt a language that demonstrates your confidence that you can and will make positive contributions to companies. We'll speak a little more today about not only realizing and connecting with that inner sense that you have incredible unique value. It's easy for us to know because we understand how impressive Pepperdine students and grads are, but ways in which you can begin to highlight them to potential employers. And then finally, we'll discuss strengthening your network In a job world where who you know is crucial, networking can expedite your job search process. So we'll review how to capitalize upon your existing resources and how to expand your professional network with resources that are custom built for Pepperdine alumni.
All right. So I'm going to kick it off and talk a little bit about that first goal in preparing for your job search, clarifying your goals and your preferences. Now, why is this important? It's important because having a frame helps us to keep on target and focused on our goal. My background and training is actually as a marriage and family therapist. And as you can imagine, clients would come in with a laundry list of problems and complaints. And my job, among many other things, was to help them narrow the scope so that we could focus on one thing and stay on track and achieve those goals. Many things will vie for your attention during the job search process, but having a clear goal in mind will help you keep moving forward. Another analogy that may be helpful, consider someone asking you, what type of job are you looking for? And answering, something in marketing. This would be similar to asking someone who's going shopping, what do you intend to buy? And having them answer, something from a store. Not very specific. And while there's nothing wrong with window shopping or hitting the mall with without a specific item in mind, if you're like me, you often end up buying things that you don't actually need or want, or end up feeling kind of exhausted by the whole process. Compare this to someone who knows exactly what they want to buy and the specific stores that carry that item. That is a smart shopper, and they have a clear goal, and the benefit of doing this front-end work is that they won't waste time in stores that don't carry what they want, looking for items that they don't need, or are out of their price range. And the same is true of the job search. Knowing what you're looking for can help you save time and your sanity. And that's what one of our goals is today, to turn you into smart shoppers in the job search realm. Now, this will be different for everybody. For you recent graduates, congratulations, first of all. But you may be thinking, I don't even know where to start. I don't know what my goals are or my preferences. And as Marla just mentioned earlier, this would be the perfect time to meet with a career counselor and take some career assessments that may help you identify some of those options. For you mid-career professionals seeking to make a change or pursue the next step in your vocational journey, it could look like identifying companies of interest or positions that would give you specific skills you need to supplement your current strengths. And some of you may set goals to work at a specific company, like Google. Perhaps your goal would be to get your foot in the door at a company like that, even by taking a position that may not be your ideal, but it would help you at least get into the organization. The idea is that by focusing your goals and preferences, it'll help you be a proactive job searcher, someone who picks the companies and jobs that they're looking to work at instead of a reactive job searcher, someone who just only applies to what they find online or waits for things to fall into their lap. Again, our goal is to give you some tools to help you become a smart shopper in the job realm so that you can clarify those goals, and Marla is going to talk about some concrete ways to do just that.
So once you've clarified some of your interests and goals, you can start to set your menu and explore all your available options. You're not necessarily going to plan an expert level dish if you only have minimal or moderate skills to pull it off. But maybe you'll go for that super advanced dish anyway. Rachel will touch on this a little bit later. The process of setting or creating a menu is somewhat twofold. So one, you have to know who you are as a professional, and two, you have to know what your available options are based on your skills and experiences. First, conduct an assessment of your skills and professional qualities or your skill level and qualifications as a chef. If you can accurately gauge your cooking abilities, then you can set a menu and you're more likely to be successful with carrying out a recipe. Likewise, you must be able to identify your skills, qualifications, and experiences that have contributed to who you are as a professional. And not simply your skills and previous experiences, but also your unique strengths, your interests, what you're passionate about, and areas in which you have the potential to do really well if given the opportunity, like managing projects, leading others, designing research experiments, troubleshooting all those technical glitches and errors, whatever it might be. If you're really lost about your interests and skills and what they might be, there are career assessments that can help you sort through that, which we do offer, as I mentioned, at the Career Center. However, you can also also uncover a lot about yourself just through the process of active reflection. Maybe looking over previous evaluations from your work supervisors, and definitely reviewing some of your previous academic and work accomplishments, which you will need to do anyway in preparing for interviews. If you have a deep, solid, and accurate understanding of your skills and strengths, you are more likely to progress in your job search and ultimately achieve your goal of getting a job. Second, based on your interests, skills, strengths, experiences, you must capture all the available options to you, and you can do this by conducting occupational and company research. So you might know that you have strong analytical or quantitative skills, but do you have a strong working knowledge of all the skills or jobs that this skill set can be applied to? One resource for doing such that occupational research is ONET Online, which is a pretty extensive database of occupations based on industry and your interests. It gives you a summary of the tasks, skills, knowledge, education, even average salary, and some of the values associated with various occupations. In addition, it might help you broaden your scope a little by providing related occupations to the ones you've already identified if you need help in capturing some more options. You can also learn about possibilities in your industry or field of interest by speaking directly with professionals. They provide additional information about related positions and the qualifications necessary to be considered for those positions. As you consider various occupations, also begin to research companies as well by using comprehensive databases like Glassdoor and Hoover's, and increasingly LinkedIn has become an excellent resource for researching companies. Focus on the about us and who we are, the mission, the goal statements for those company websites. What do you learn about their vision, their values, and their goals? Which company do you most identify with? What can you glean about the company culture from the images and content of the website? What have you heard about the company from somebody who works there? Are they people you might enjoy working with? How do their values align with your own on a professional level and on a personal level? Researching companies can help you develop a keener eye for what you're looking for and what you have to offer. It bridges the gap between your talents and skills, who you are as a professional, and the areas that employers are seeking to fill. You'll have to decide on themes and components that run through your menu of options. So to carry on with the analogy, if you're preparing a 5-course meal for a dinner party, what type of cuisine will you focus on? So you're preparing 3 main dishes of Indian food, and let's say you're targeting 3 different companies or positions. Each one might not be exactly the same, but there might be certain components or ingredients that are consistent and run through each dish. What skills, qualities, work tasks, features do you find yourself being drawn to most in the descriptions of job positions or companies you're looking at? Company research can also help you keep a pulse on your target industry. When I recently spoke with a representative from the Wall Street Journal, he said that employers are really impressed when candidates present to the interview with the most current information and trends on stocks, the economy, and other business-related news, and when they can speak about it in a meaningful way. That can really help you set yourself apart from other candidates. Also follow companies on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and their blogs if they have any. This will provide the most current information and also postings for jobs and who the key players are in the company and how to keep an eye on them and how to even possibly reach out to them. Next, we'll review.
All right. So once you've clarified your goals and you've set your menu, you need to figure out where you're going to go find those items. So if we take our shopping analogy further, let's say that you've identified that you're shopping for groceries and not clothing. Great. Well, where are all the places that you could purchase your groceries? Vons, Ralph's, Pavilions, Trader Joe's, Fresh and Easy, Whole Foods, farmers markets, Amazon Fresh, co-ops. I mean, the list goes on and on. And often we shop at different stores for different items, even when the umbrella goal is, quote, to buy groceries. And the same is true of the job search. It's good to have an idea of a range of position types that you're willing to consider. Now let's call these position types realistic positions, safety positions, and reach positions. And we're really in with our food analogy today, so I'm going to take it even further. Let's say that you're throwing a dinner party. You've picked a date, you've invited your friends, you've set the menu, you know what dish you're planning to make. You've made it before, and you feel reasonably confident that you can make it again. Now, for me, that's a pork tenderloin. I feel up to the challenge, and I believe that I have what it takes to make that happen. This would be your realistic position, the one that when you read the job description, it fits your skill set, and you think, yeah, I could apply for that. But let's say I accidentally set the oven temp too high. And when it comes down to the wire, that pork loin is charred to a crisp right before my guests arrive. What do? Well, I pull out my trusty Trader Joe's frozen pizzas, and I throw one of them into the oven. Now, sadly for me, this is a very true analogy. I always have a backup when it comes to cooking. This would be your safety position, the position that perhaps you are overqualified for. I'd like to think I can make a frozen pizza. But in a pinch, it would pay the bills. That's your safety position. All right, so on the contrary, let's say that I have an inspired moment in the kitchen, and I decide to try my luck at making a souffle. Now, I've never done this before, but hey, what the heck? I've got my backup, Trader Joe's peanut butter cups in this case. So I go for it, and if I pull it off, what a dinner party. If it goes tragically wrong, Trader Joe's peanut butter cups. This is your reach position, the dream job, the one that you throw your hat in the ring and hope for the best. You could have all of the ingredients for it. Maybe you just don't have the experience. That's okay. We learn by trying, and who knows, you might nail it. So building your shopping list or your list of companies and positions can help you to stay on track as you apply for opportunities and narrow the scope of your job search to a manageable range. It's just one more way to stay focused and stay sane.
So, in creating that wonderful dish, you're going to prep the right ingredients. So the good thing in this whole job search process is that there are some things that are very much in your control, like writing an error-free resume and cover letter. And these job search tools can be the deal breaker sometimes. This is where you put on your most detail-oriented glasses that you own and make sure everything is as perfect as possible on your resume. This is where you take the extra step to develop a strong cover letter for each company and position you apply to after you research the company. And this is where you practice answering those annoying interview questions to create a better story about who you are. Fortunately, you have a lifetime membership, so to speak, to Career Services at Pepperdine, so we provide advanced resume and cover letter review, and we can also provide mock interviews to help you feel more prepared for your actual interview. Another possible ingredient in this job search process is your job organizer tool. So there's an example of one here, but you can also design your own and even find one online. Some are free and pretty easy to use. A job organizer tool will help you track jobs that you find and apply to, keep a timeline of your efforts, hold different versions of your resume, show interviews that you have scheduled, when you heard from a company, so you know an appropriate time to check back in with them after you apply, and also keep track of your contacts in the company. You can also kind of use it as your data set and draw certain conclusions from the work that you're putting in. So you'll see, oh geez, I always seem to stumble on this particular question, or wow, I'm getting interviews I'm always getting interviews for this particular position, or I guess I know more people in this field than I initially thought. So you're kind of like a scientist or an experimenter in this process where you're going to experience a certain amount of success and failure. Everyone does. A job search organizer can help you feel in control of the process and takes a little bit of the guesswork out of the job search process, which contains more unknown variables than we would prefer. Next, Emma will go over understanding your unique value.
Sorry about that. A little bit technical difficulty. If you guys could type in the chat if you can hear us. We got a little bit offline, but we're back.
Great.
All right.
Wonderful. Sorry about that.
You.
So as I was saying, we talk a little bit about the ingredients that you need to prep in terms of the job search process itself, but then there are the ingredients that you need to prep related to who you are as a person and the unique value that you offer to employers and to those who you're seeking to work with. And so part of understanding your unique value, it has to do with sort of dressing the part, coming prepared and confident and ready to engage with those who you are pursuing in the job search process. So you have to know what you're selling, and that is you. And I know a lot of people sort of have aversions to sort of marketing themselves or representing their personal brand. But this is actually it can be a very authentic and natural process, and hopefully we'll give you some strategies today to prepare for that and be able to tell a stellar story about who you are and the value that you bring to the companies and organizations that you're reaching out to. So in some cases, you may be a recent grad, and in that sense, you probably will be relying on your educational experiences, perhaps a study abroad experience or classroom experiences, team projects, or things that you worked on academically. You might also be relying on student work or employment that you had while in college, or internships that you experienced, and we hope that you do. Speaking from those experiences, leveraging those skills will help you shape the story that you're telling to employers in terms of the value that you bring to them. If you're an experienced professional, you'll be able to leverage the years of experience you've had in a particular industry and the various jobs or positions that you've held, even if it's in an unrelated field. There are always elements of value that you're drawing on and that you bring to the people that you encounter or the jobs that you are looking to fill. You also have elements of yourself, ingredients in terms of who you are, that you can learn through things like the Myers-Briggs or the Strong Interest Inventory or even the Strengths Finder, things that help you sort of articulate and put language to what makes you unique, what areas of strength you bring to a team or to a situation. And so those are things that you can draw on in helping script your story. And I just want to underscore that you're certainly more than your resume. And one way that you can start to think about this framework is to script your story. So a lot of people approach sort of the job application process as well as the interview process in a reactive stance. They're vying for attention. They want someone to notice them. And then once they're noticed, they want to defend their position and prove their worth. And there's a little bit of desperation that you sometimes encounter in the job search. And we're here to tell you today that you don't have to function from that reactive position. You can actually control the story that you're telling more than you think. And part of that is just being intentional and being thoughtful about what story you are telling. Are you just telling the story that you've always told, or are you picking the message that you're sharing with other people, and are you scripting that in a way that speaks authentically about your experiences that you've had? And so one way that you can do this is, there are kind of two approaches that I'll talk about. One way that you can do this is that you can sit down and take some time to write out at length, maybe a paragraph or so, about the top 5 professional experiences, or for you recent grads, maybe even life experiences that you've had. But think about it from a professional lens and that have really shaped who you are. And as you write about those in length, include as much detail as you can. This is just sort of a brainstorming experience. You're going to be able to kind of go deeper into considering how these experiences have shaped who you are and the value that you bring to a company or organization. Now, after you've scripted each of those items, you can start to narrow them down and kind of summarize them into maybe a sentence, a line, or a word, and start to identify themes that maybe pop up one or more of those experiences that you're writing about. And as you identify these themes, you can start to narrow them down into categories that really can serve as pillars of strength for who you are. Now, you might want to approach this in the opposite manner. You might decide that you know what your top strengths are, and then you might need to just do some further exploration about how you've demonstrated those strengths and how you can represent evidence of those strengths from previous experiences that you've had either academically or professionally. So you can approach it either way. You can start with the pillars of strength and then outline them in more detail to get more comfortable with the anecdotes or evidence, or you can start by describing the experiences that you've had, the anecdotes and the evidence of those strengths, and then narrow down those themes to identify your pillars of strength. Regardless, once you have 3 to 5 sort of pillars of strength that are really go-to areas for you that make you unique and that offer that unique value to people, you can go further to identify the situation, the task, the action, the results, and the success that really show for employers your success in that realm. And as you get comfortable with those, you can answer almost any interview question, right? And you can make sure that those strengths and those pillars really come out in your resume, in your application, on your LinkedIn profile. You can all of a sudden control the story that you are telling employers about who you are and what you uniquely offer. And through that process, you're really building your unique and personal brand and making sure that that brand is consistently reflected throughout all of your job application documents, and other places that you're managing your profile online. So that's just one way that you can approach that. But I think really understanding those pillars of strength can help you more authentically and naturally be telling your story, regardless of the interview questions that may come your way, or regardless of the conversation you might find yourself in with someone new in your network or one of your contacts. So Rachel's going to talk a little bit more about how you can stand out.
Great. Thank you, Amy. All right. So as Amy said, a big piece of it is just knowing what your strengths are and being able to articulate those and finding ways to stand out. People often talk to us in the Career Center, and we hear the same lament over and over again. I feel like I've applied to 1 million jobs, and it's just like I'm sending my resume into the abyss. I never hear back. What I'm here to tell you, and what I tell them, is your job is to connect the dots for the employers. Think of it this way. Hiring managers want the job filled with a qualified candidate just as much as you want a job. Your job is to help them see why you're the best fit for the position, and you can do this by understanding the company, the positions, and the needs of the department, and demonstrating why it's a no-brainer to bring you on board. You start to see why what Marla was talking about in the research portion and understanding the culture of the company, it really does help you when you're trying to get in front of an employer with your resume and your cover letter, and hopefully eventually to an interview. A tip that we tell, common exercise I give, is to print out the job description, your resume, and your cover letter side by side, and make sure that you're speaking to the job requirements and qualifications in your documents. You must tailor these for each position you apply for. I'll repeat that. You must tailor these. Hiring managers can tell if they receive a blanket resume and cover letter, and it does not go to the short stack. So you've got to tailor these and show that you are invested in the position that you are applying for. You want the hiring manager to read your cover letter and documents and breathe a sigh of relief that you are speaking to exactly what they need and want. Of course, you're doing this within the bounds of truth, but you're trying to do what Amy was saying and find those unique things and connect the dots for the employer so they can see why you would be a benefit to work with. The second thing, another way to stand out, is just to build rapport. People like to hire people that they can picture working with for 40 hours a week, that they would enjoy. So building rapport and putting yourself in their shoes, flipping it around and wondering how would you respond if somebody was approaching you in this way, can help you just relax and be the picture of an employee that somebody would actually like to bring on their team if your skills and strengths fit their description. A quick word for you recent graduates on this. Surveys indicate that most recent graduates believe that they're overqualified for entry-level jobs, while most employers feel that you're not. So let's look at reality for a second. You do have 12 years of school under your belt and are an experienced learner, but you may not have the work experience that prepares you for anything other than an entry-level job. And I'm here to tell you that that's okay, because every job is temporary. The sooner you get your foot in the door at a company you're interested in, the sooner you can build experience and start moving up or applying for more exciting opportunities. Everybody has to start somewhere, and everybody remembers being in your shoes. I'm not saying don't apply for those reach positions that we were talking about. Do that. Throw your hat in the ring. But what I am saying is be realistic about what you have to offer at this stage in the game and capitalize on the fact that you are an experienced learner and a hard worker. Employers want to hire people that they can teach and groom according to the way that they do business. So go for those dream jobs, but don't get too upset if you have to start in an entry-level job. Repeat after me. Every job is temporary. All right. So the next, finally, as Amy had mentioned, it's crucial that you know yourself so that when you're given opportunities, you can make the most of them. For example, if somebody asks you, how can I help? You want to be able to give them a clear, concise idea of what you're looking for. Responding with, I need a job, is too vague. Saying, I'm looking for an entry-level finance position in the fashion industry at an organization such as Nordstrom or Macy's, that allows that person to say, my uncle is an executive there. Let me see what I can do. The other example we often hear is, if you've ever heard of the term elevator pitch. The idea is if you are caught in the elevator with the CEO of a company and you only have 30 seconds to connect and make an impression, what are you going to say? How are you going to bring up those pillars and those strengths so that you can make the most of that opportunity? Another concrete way to be prepared and informed is to follow industry trends in the media and follow companies online on their social media. This gives you an organic way to engage and demonstrate your expertise. For instance, retweeting a comment made by an executive and offering your perspective, or commenting thoughtfully on a blog post, that is something that raises your profile while being natural, and it's a great way to build rapport and demonstrate maturity and competence. So follow those companies that you're interested on LinkedIn, like their Facebook pages, follow persons of interest on Twitter, subscribe to their blogs. This is a great organic way to make the most of those connecting points and opportunities.
So as you strengthen your network, think about you're throwing a dinner party. You want to invite your friends. Friends can bring that dessert of box brownies that end up being the best part of the entire meal, or another friend who turns out to be the life of the party. If networking seems daunting, invest in your current network of friends, family, friends of family members, faculty members that you know. You might be doing it now without even realizing it. The best part about networking is that it increases your odds for nabbing that job, and it can help you fly past a few checkpoints. You might get what you're going for much sooner if you engage in networking. When speaking to others, be clear about your career goals. If you're not sure what you want or what you're looking for, how can the other person be sure? Networking is not just about schmoozing. It's about building an authentic and mutually beneficial relationship, much like any positive relationship you might want in your life. With networking, you get to talk about things that get you excited about with other people. So don't think you'll be discussing boring or uninspiring topics, even if it begins that way. Eventually, a strong relationship built through networking will endure from the common interests and passions that you share. Also, maintain your relationships. Drop a line every once in a while. See how someone is doing. Each relationship can contain a different degree of closeness, but certainly check in with people who have facilitated or supported your job search process. You might be in a position where you can eventually help them one day too. Also, in expanding your network, conduct informational interviews. An informational interview is just a really short meeting with the purpose of learning more about a specific occupation, the industry, a specific company, or just general career information. It's an exploratory conversation in which you identify whom to interview, and then you prepare questions to ask and evaluate the information you've gathered, and follow up with the person accordingly. You can reach out to anyone for an informational interview, including your alumni network, executives in a company, previous or current work supervisors, mentors, friends. Keep in mind that it's designed to be a learning experience and not a solicitation for a job or an internship or whatever it might be. Conducting an informational interview is how you expand your network further. If you need help with setting up an informational interview or even just learning more about what it is or the potential benefits, please do come into the Career Center or shoot us a call or email.
Find events and ways to connect with other alumni. So let's pop over to the alumni office webpage. See if I can find it. There we go. Calendar of events. So here you'll see, so it's at pepperdine.edu/alumni/calendar. These are all the events up on the, if you go to the alumni page and then go over to the right-hand side, you'll see a link for the alumni directory, which can also be a helpful resource if you're looking for specific alumni or somebody who works in an area of interest. Right below that is the chapters link, and you'll see there's chapters, regional chapters all over the nation. So that is a great resource for you in order to be able to connect with other waves and just leverage that connection. Let's go back to our presentation. Alrighty. You know, and aside from the Pepperdine events, there are other networking events, professional groups and associations that you can be a part of, and that's a great way to expand your network. For you recent grads or even mid-career professionals, You can always Google that in your area, finance professional groups, find out when they're meeting and see if you can go check it out. Oftentimes, if you ask the president or whoever's in charge if you can come because you're just seeking to maybe join, they may waive the registration fee, and then, hey, free networking event. So get creative with the way that you reach out to people. You can connect with them via your alma mater. You can connect with them via same career interests. But meeting people in person and spending some time there can really, really help strengthening your network. All right. Now Amy's going to talk a little bit about LinkedIn.
Wonderful. I'm going to give a brief overview. We're going to talk about leveraging LinkedIn. A lot of people sort of know the importance of getting on LinkedIn and having a profile, but they don't actually understand the breadth or depth of support that LinkedIn can provide in the job search process or in the networking process. And so I'm going to share with you just a couple strategies that will hopefully be helpful in your search. There's actually a lot more that LinkedIn can do, but we don't have time to actually going to move with you again to walk you through this process. So hopefully all of you have a LinkedIn profile, and if you don't, start there. It may take you a week or so to get all of the elements and pieces of your profile put up and set into motion, but I would encourage you to take the time to do that and make sure it's a stellar profile. LinkedIn does a good job of guiding you through this and letting you know when your profile is quote-unquote complete, but just like a resume, there are always ways that you can improve it and enhance it to your benefit in the job search process. A couple small things I'll mention is be sure you have a good image, a good headshot, that there aren't other people in the picture, that there aren't distracting things in the background, and that you look professional and warm and inviting in that image. Make sure that your headline, as well as the descriptions that you use in the summary section and other sections of your profile, include rich keywords. So if you've done your research on companies, you understand their values and their culture, you've done research on the position types that you are applying for, you'll start to see some repetitive keywords that come up in those postings and in those positions. And hopefully you'll be able to reflect those keywords in the summaries about your own experiences that you've had. And when you include those things, you'll be more likely to pop up in searches that HR managers and sourcing managers do within the LinkedIn system. HR staff and teams often have a robust access to LinkedIn on the back end, and they're able to do things in the system that you may not know about. And so you want to make sure that your profile is rich and ready for them to discover you when they're looking to source talent and fill positions in their companies. Of course, you also want to make meaningful connections. So be intentional about who you connect with in your network, who you reach out to, as well as who you accept as a connection within your LinkedIn space. So you can be judicious about that, but be liberal with that as well and connect with people not just in your professional space, but people you know perhaps from church or a charitable organization that you work with, or people that are engaged in other hobbies or groups that you might be involved with outside of your professional life. Those individuals actually expand your network infinitely because they have contacts and connections that reach beyond perhaps your academic background or your professional background. So make sure that your profile is complete and comprehensive and really kind of puts your best foot forward. And make sure you represent those pillars of strength that you've identified in telling your story. So again, your personal brand is represented well in the profile that you've shared. There are actually some great videos on our website that LinkedIn's put together if you need help walking through this process to really make your profile stand out. So that's sort of a no-brainer, but make sure you've done the legwork to have a really robust profile so that it's serving you even when you're not actively using the site. The other thing that is relatively new is that you can actually embed presentations, slide shares, evidence of your work, papers you've written, projects you've completed. You can link out to blogs or other things that you've maybe published or made available online. And so be sure to include elements like that show evidence of your competency and evidence of how great the work is that you do. So that's one way that you can demonstrate evidence through your LinkedIn profile, and it's a really direct way to show employers that you have what it takes to do the job that they're looking to have you do. The other thing is that you can have people provide recommendations for you. They can either endorse skills that you've included on your profile and say, yes, this person is good at this particular skill, or they can actually write a recommendation about having worked with you in the past and talk about your competency and evidence of your success in the work that you've done. So those are two really powerful ways that people can start to get a greater sense of your competency and what you would bring to a business or organization that you're looking to work with. The other thing that I would recommend is definitely join groups. So groups actually can serve multiple purposes. Certainly you should join the Pepperdine Alumni Association group and the Waves Hiring Waves subgroup, or your school level group from Pepperdine, because those are great networks that you definitely want to be connected into. But there are also a lot of professional associations and groups that you can become a part of based on your industry of interest, as well as maybe hobbies or other interests that you may have. And so one of the greatest benefits about groups is it helps you keep sort of up to speed on what's happening in those industries and in those fields, or what's happening, say, here at Pepperdine. When are those networking events happening that I can get out and connect with? But it also gives you direct access to contact other members in those groups. So within LinkedIn, you know that you can only direct email people who are connected to you in your first connection kind of sphere and space. But when you're joined in a group, you actually gain the ability to email directly any of the people and members in that group, assuming that they've allowed that to be so in their privacy settings. And so this is a great way to actually be able to get an email out, to open up communication with people that you might not otherwise be directly connected to at this stage in your career, especially for you recent grads. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Be sure to join and follow a lot of different groups that are applicable to your career and to your interests. It not only keeps you informed, but allows you to have connections you might not otherwise have. The other thing, speaking to Marla's kind of earlier mention of doing your company research, and Rachel mentioned it as well, is following companies on LinkedIn. And this is a great place to do company research, but it also gives you kind of a running feed of the companies that you're interested in. And so this is a great place to be able to build kind of your target list of companies that you're looking to work for, and to build your knowledge base about who they are, what's happening with them, what kind of issues are impacting the work that they do, what kind of problems they're trying to solve. The best interviewers are going to come in and be able to offer thoughtful and strategic solutions or possibilities to the problems that companies and organizations are trying to solve. And the best way that you can be prepared in coming up with some of those solutions is by knowing what's going on within those companies. It also gives insight to culture and values and brand in a way that can help you position yourself and align yourself with the companies that you are looking to invest in or be connected with. You can also follow recruiters or key influencers at those companies and organizations, and oftentimes HR departments are actually managing the profiles on LinkedIn, so you'll often see quick postings about new jobs that have come available, and any interaction you might have with a recruiter on that site might elevate their knowledge about your interests and your qualifications for those positions that are available within their company. So I definitely want to encourage you to follow those companies and engage with recruiters that are managing those sites. An obvious place to leverage LinkedIn, and I don't know how many people are actively using it, but it's a great resource, is the jobs page. And it's like many of the other aggregate job sites online, but LinkedIn obviously has a lot of regard within the professional sphere. It is the professional social network. And so, of course, companies want to promote the jobs and positions they're looking to fill on LinkedIn, because they want to hire the type of people who've taken the time to build LinkedIn profiles and build their professional brand. And so you can do an extensive job search. You can do a simple job title or keyword or company name search, obviously, but then you can also do advanced searches based on sort of a country or a zip code that you're looking to work in, various industries or job functions that you're looking to work in. And then there's even more options, if you click more options here, to be able to filter and search by a number of other things, like the date the position was posted, and other things like experience level. So if you're trying to filter down your list to only see the jobs that fall into that realistic range that Rachel was talking about earlier, this might be helpful for you in filtering your options through the job search. Another great value here is that you can also click off, whether or not you have connections, people who are working at those companies and organizations, and search by the jobs that you're qualified for with companies that you actually know people at. That's going to be a huge win for you if you do intend to apply for a position within a company. You can then reach out to a connection you may have, perhaps ask for an informational interview, or if you already have a relationship with them, just let them know that you've applied and see if there's anyone that they can forward your resume onto to get a second look or rise to the top of the applicant pool. So that's a great sort of just a search functionality within the site that you can take advantage of. Another way that you can summarize and see some different options, two sets in fact, are jobs that you may be interested in. And you can filter these first by location, then by company size, and then by industry. And LinkedIn will make some recommendations to you based on your skills and experience and based on the things that are included in your profile. So that may be one way to maybe shop the sales, and to discover maybe unanticipated companies, organizations, or positions that you haven't yourself identified, but that you might be qualified for or might start considering. The other thing you can do if you scroll down a little further is to discover jobs in your network. And this is where you can see companies and organizations that are posting jobs and where you know people at those companies and organizations. Again, a really useful tool. If you can apply for a position, feel confident about the skills and the experience that you bring to the table, but then have someone internal to the organization advocating for you, referring you to the hiring manager, putting in a good word for you, all the more a chance you'll get to have an interview and get in front of the hiring managers and make a good impression. So those are some really valuable ways that you can be using these tools within LinkedIn. And then lastly, and perhaps most importantly, there is also a way for you to access our alumni network from LinkedIn. So under interests, I clicked education, and I actually would recommend this. There is an option under network to find alumni, but I would actually recommend finding alumni this way. You're going to get a more comprehensive look at all of our Pepperdine alumni who are on LinkedIn and have active accounts. So you go under interests and down to education. And if this is the first time you visited the site, you're going to need to search for Pepperdine and then follow Pepperdine. And once you do, you'll get a feed here about Pepperdine and any other institution that you want to add or that you have maybe attended in the past. But you can also click into the school here once you've added it and you are following it. And you'll see quickly that they give you a little dashboard of the number of alumni that are on LinkedIn. So currently we have over 32,000 alumni from our Pepperdine network who have active profiles on LinkedIn. To see a more comprehensive view, you can click on this Explore button, and you can see sort of the breakdown of where our alumni live, where they work, what they do. If you click over further, you can see what they studied, what they're skilled at, and how you're connected to them. And so those can be really useful tools. Well, what's even cooler is that any time you click on one of these bars, it sets a filter for you. So if you are looking specifically for alumni in the San Francisco Bay Area, you can click San Francisco, and now it's narrowed the pool, and you can see in San Francisco, where do we have alumni working? Or perhaps you want to connect with alumni in San Francisco, specifically in banking. So at Wells Fargo, and you want to see if there's anybody there. Perhaps you've applied for a position there. Or maybe you don't want to look at Wells Fargo specifically, but you just want to look in San Francisco in the marketing field. And then you can see, if you click on marketing and you have San Francisco selected, where those individuals are working and what companies up in San Francisco. So you have the ability to filter and narrow these categories in different ways. And you can add as many as you want or delete them along the way right up here across the top toolbar. Well, what this pulls up down below then are all the profiles of those people, and it'll indicate whether or not you're connected. There'll be an envelope if you already have a connection with that person, or if you want to add a connection or send an invitation to that person to connect. You'll have those kind of indicators here below. And so you can click on their profiles and do some research, find out what their roles are, if they're related to the positions that you're applying to, or if there's somebody that you maybe want to reach out to or learn from. Now, there's a couple ways that you can request an informational interview. If you have a connection, you can reach out directly and ask them for a moment of their time via phone or Skype or whatever is most comfortable or easy for you or for them. And just, spend 10 to 15 minutes asking them questions about the company, about the work that they do, how they got to where they are. And as Marla said, we have more resources about conducting informational interviews. But just reaching out to them and requesting that opportunity. If you're not currently connected, you have the option to reach out and send them an invitation. Now, the text that you can include in an invite is pretty brief, so you'll have to be pretty direct and maybe say something like, as a fellow Wave, I was wondering if you would have 10 to 15 minutes of your time to talk to me about your experience with this company. Please let me know if you're willing to connect, or email me at this separate email. So there's a couple ways that you can approach that and reach out to these alumni. But again, making that personal connection inside a company could open up doors that you otherwise wouldn't have available to you and might get you the exposure and the advocacy within a company that you really need. So this is a great way to engage with successful and active alumni and to be able to narrow down the list of alumni that are on LinkedIn and are active professionals in a meaningful way. I think that is all we have time to cover today. As I mentioned, with LinkedIn in particular, there are lots of tools, there's lots of functionality, and they're constantly adding more. Start with these steps. Start by leveraging and taking advantage of some of these tools. There are obviously things that you can also pay for, packages like the Job Seeker Premium that can give you positioning and highlight you as a candidate to recruiters who are using the tool on the back end. But I would start with these things first and see how far you get. Definitely leverage the Pepperdine network and let us continue to support you and help you in that process.
All right, thank you, Amy. And before we open the floor for questions, I'm just going to take a really quick peruse through some of the resources that we have available to you. We've got people online joining us from the Grazia Dio School, from the School of Law, from Seaver. So I wanted to just direct your attention to our Career Services landing page, where we have all of the contact information for each school's career center. There's also a link to our new YouTube playlist that has career-related videos and webinars. There's over 20 videos up right now and webinars from each school, so I'd encourage you to go take a look at that. And as you keep scrolling down, there are links to each career center's job board where jobs are posted. So go check this out. Depending on the last school that you graduated from, each portal is different, and you've got access here if you click on these links. If you keep scrolling down, we've got our career services web pages by school. So again, each career center has a little bit different resources, but we'd encourage you to go check those out. So that you know we've got support for you there. Anyone over LinkedIn, we've talked a little bit about the alumni office. Our webpage is right here for the Seaver Career Center. Again, links to our webinars. And then finally, I think, let me get back to our presentation, and we'll just do a little review, and then I think open up the floor for any of the questions that you guys have.
So just to recap, we talked about being a smart shopper, so knowing your preferences and your goals, as this will help you bring more focus, energy, and clarity to your job search process. Also, setting your menu, assessing who you are currently, your potential to succeed in certain areas, and what employers and companies are looking for. This is an honest evaluation of what you have to offer and how that fits in with each company's purpose and goals. Also knowing where you're shopping and building your list, so looking in the right places and finding a job that matches your skills, interests, and values, while engaging in efforts to consider all your possibilities and options. Prepping the right ingredients, so controlling as much of the process as possible by refining your resume and cover letter, practicing interviewing skills, and maybe even using the tool of a job search organizer that helps you feel more in command of the whole job search process. And then finding ways to stand out, so knowing why you might be or are the best possible candidate for the position. This is where you leave all your hesitations and self-doubts at the door. You must demonstrate to employers that you are the best choice for the position, and you will do well if selected. And then making the most out of all the opportunities available. You must see opportunity in all the expected and unexpected situations and capitalize upon them. If you're already examining yourself and have a strong hold on your career goals through the rest of your job search process, and the act of speaking to others about yourself, informing them of your interests and knowing your unique story and your strengths will become easier and easier. So next, Rachel will just discuss some of those opportunities, and we'll wrap it up, I think.
Yeah, so just in the interest of time, I'm going to put this screen up. Again, you can reference it on the recording or just go to pepperdine.edu/career services as your first stopping point. Go explore those services. We've got a lot on there. We would love for you to be able to use that at your own pace. And feel free to contact the appropriate office for questions that you have. I think, we've got about 5 minutes left. Let's go ahead and open up the floor. If you want to type in any questions to the chat, we'll repeat them for the group and do what we can.
Do, 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 do.
Right. Looks like you guys are all